are now live. Okay, so we're live on Facebook. Welcome everybody to Quick to Politic, the social commentary podcast and also web series. I'm your host, Ernestine Lyons, and just a little bit of background on the Quick to Politic podcast. I started this when I became an elected official in 2019, winning a seat on Harperwood City Council. And the following year, we had the coronavirus pandemic, really start to pick up, and it became something that really caused a lot of conversations around the social determinants of health and like the future of our economies. And we started having these political conversations because it was an election year and it was quite a pivotal one. In addition, we had the racial reckoning that happened all across America in the wake of the murder of George Floyd. And so I started the podcast in 2020 as a response and a means to have these conversations around, certain things like equity and, political engagement and voting rights. And, so there are so many conversations on, things as like health and eating healthy, and also having conversations around, the social determinants of health. And then just talking about history. So it became something that every week we were having these discussions. And so without further ado, I want to jump right in and introduce my guests. So if you guys can say hello, we have Shalise Daniels and Dr. Nolana Nobles, PhD. So we're just gonna say hi.
Hey there, everybody.
Thank you for having us. Thank you. Hi, everyone.
All right, awesome. So I'm going to read some bios because we have some very impressive ladies here with us today. So we have Shalise Daniels of Harperwoods, and I'm just going to read her information. She says, I am a traveler who runs a real estate firm, in that order. So Shalise is the principal at Detroit Real Estate Advisors, a multifaceted residential property management firm that services veterans and families with limited incomes, while helping investors, both domestic and abroad, leverage assets to purchase large portfolios in Detroit. Shalise supports a number of local organizations whose missions involve food security, that's a great topic, mental health, and mentoring youth. So Shalise also proudly serves her community as a precinct delegate. So she is also already a precinct delegate, and we're going to get more into information about precinct delegates. And she served on boards including the National Association of African Americans in Human Resources, Women in Cable and Technology, and Detroit Magic Child Development. Bravery is seasoned with disdain for regrets drove Shalise to devote her work energy to DREA full time. And 7 years prior, she led a successful career as a senior corporate sales and tech trainer at Comcast, NBC Universal, a Fortune 500 company. So she is amazing overall. Like this is just like really exciting, like to see all of these accomplishments. Shalise is fiercely committed to two things: creating strategies to build wealth throughout the real estate by using real estate, and doing so in different corners of the world, navigated by her palette. Shalise has also been called a churro snob, and if you challenge her to jump rope contests, she will win. She revels in practicing her fledgling Spanish over coffee chats, and will buy lunch for those who can scrupulously simplify the concept of real estate in the metaverse. Oh, all right. So was there anything else that I missed?
No, that was a mouthful. That was more than enough. Thank you, Ernestine.
No worries. All right. And we have the wonderful, the illustrious, the beautiful Dr. Nolana Nobles, PhD. She is a resident of Harperwoods, Michigan, and has over 20 years of experience in nonprofit work. She is specifically passionate about anti-poverty initiatives, And she is presently, she serves as the Associate Director of Capital Area Community Services in Lansing, Michigan, directing the early childhood programs in Eaton, Ingham, Shiawassee, and Clinton counties. So advocacy is at the sum of her efforts and at the heart of everything she does. She has worked in grassroots levels for the Obama administration campaign, served 2 appointments in the Michigan Interagency Coordinating Council, and most recently hosted Dr. Miguel Cardona, the United States Secretary of Education, during his visit to Michigan on the return to school road trip tour. She has a private psychotherapy practice, and that was born out of her desire to mitigate the negative impacts of the social determinants of health that we talked about. She believes that every person should be able to live up to their own definitions of quality of life. I love it. And then when the world systems are properly designed and informed, the people can use them properly. So she's an educator and is currently running for Harper Woods Precinct Delegate to support the community here and to support her community and learning how their vote is important to improving the lives of everyone in Harper Woods. All right, did I miss anything, Dr. Nobles?
No, thank you so much for the gracious introduction.
All right. All right. Well, thank you guys so much. And so I'm going to just jump right into, tell us a little about yourself. I've read these bios, but I want the folks out there listening and watching to really get to know you guys. So I'm going to kick things over to Shalise and, tell us about yourself, your Harper Woods story, and, your connection to the community here in Harper Woods.
Sure thing. So I'm Shalise Simple, and I've lived in Harper Woods for about 11 years now, but I'll tell you how it all began. Initially, I bought this home as an income property, and I moved into it after an unfortunate divorce, and convenience made me stay in the interim. It was close to my kids' schools, it was close to their extracurricular activities, and so we stayed. Well, then my neighbors, I love my neighbors to death in my community. It was the proximity, again, was really close to the things that we needed to do. And I ended up a lifetime, I feel 11 years, 12 years later, I'm still here and I love it. Well, one of the things that made me stay was because of the small community aspect, knowing my neighbors and the fact that it's so close to the things that I love, and that's usually my kids' activities.
All right. And you know what? You answered one of the questions that was generally included in this, which is tell us about what made you choose the city as home. And,
Okay.
that definitely, it resonates with me. I've been in the city for 25 years and it is wonderful. So I love it when people come here and they just fall in love with Harper Woods. So I'm gonna bounce things over to Nolana. Same question. Tell us about, what is it that made you choose the city as home, your connection to Harper Woods, and, tell us about yourself in your own words.
All righty. Well, originally, when I moved to the east side of Detroit from Oak Park, Michigan, my home was in the Regent Park area on the other side of Kelly Road. And so I had a good friend that lives in Harper Woods, and I would always come over and visit her and hang out. And the city itself is something about the vibe. I think it's the trees. Honestly, I believe it's the trees. I'm all about the environmental, aspects of a healthy lifestyle. It was just a stark difference, right, from the Regent Park area to the Harper Woods area. And so it just physically connected with me that this felt like home. I should say I'm originally from Texas. So, I like to stay outside a lot. So it's just kind of grabbing me, right? So one day, my friend invited me to the Harper Woods Neighborhood Economic Development Coalition meeting. She was like, she knew what my passions were and we're good friends. She's like, you should come with me. I think you'll like this. And I was like, I don't even live in Harper Woods. And she goes, that's okay. You're talking about moving your practice to Harper Woods. Just come and see if you like it before you make that choice. And I was like, okay, that's a great idea. And I went. At that meeting, it was just like Shalice said, the neighbors were personable and friendly and so proud to say what street they lived on. There were just so much engagement. And I immediately, that just resonated with me. I wanted to be with people who really felt connected to their community at large. So of course I put my practice in Harper Woods and then quickly just got involved. I think I did the neighborhood Economic Development Coalition's page,
It was the
for the,
Facebook group.
the
I
big picture
remember
of
that
me.
that Facebook group had like you, our former city manager, a couple of folks who were like active. I know Miss Nancy Schaefer, really active with
Mhm.
like the cleanups and all of the activities. And so yeah, I think I still like use that picture every once in a while for like fun things in the community and
Yeah. Well,
whatnot.
that's what brought me there. And what keeps me there again is all of those same things. It's been consistent, even with the growth, changes in residencies, people, getting older and moving away. That commitment by the citizens I keep seeing it being demonstrated everywhere I go. And it is also a lot of the reason that when the Michigan Dems reached out to me about precinct delegate candidacy, I accepted because I wanted to be a part of, making sure everyone's informed and feeling a part of that community.
All right, all right. I was just actually looking down to see if we have any comments online. And folks, if you're watching out there, feel free to, if you have any questions about the topics. And today's topic, if I didn't say it, is about community engagement, community involvement, and how to get involved, like the first steps. So essentially that's, we're talking about precinct delegates here. So, okay, so that's gonna kick us right into what is a precinct delegate and how do you become one? And what do you want to see happen in your community by becoming a precinct delegate? So we'll start with you, Nolana, because we know, Shalice, you're already one, and I kind of want to pivot that question towards your experience already being, and you're already elected as a precinct delegate and have been in the community here for a while. So I want to hear about that. But so yeah, Nolana, let's take that question and so tell us a little bit about
Okay.
what is a precinct delegate and why that path.
Okay. Well, as you stated, Ernestine, precinct delegate is the first open door for an average citizen to get involved in the politics of the United States. It's a localized position. It is an elected position, and it's specific to the county in which you live in, meaning you cannot run to be a precinct delegate in another county or another community. You have to live in that area. The role of that role is vast, and I'm sure Shalice will talk really from a testimonial point of the work that's involved in that. But for us going upward, up the ladder, the precinct delegate is responsible for attending the county convention, being part of the selection of the delegates that move forward, and sometimes serving on the local committees, executive committees that come out of that. The topics that are all pertinent to the people in the community are discussed, and we represent the voices in the actual votes cast in that city. But there's a lot of little pieces, and Shalice is our seasoned person here, and I'm sure she's going to be teaching, the candidates here a lot of things. So hope that was clear enough for the listeners.
Yes, I think it definitely, shed some insight into that, and beautifully said, as always. So yeah, I definitely want to, get your perspective, Shalice. So like, please do tell us more, because it's not too late as of right now to, kind of put your name out there for, August. And a precinct delegate generally only needs one vote, which is, it can be yourself. And so yeah. All right, Shalice, the floor is yours. Let's hear it.
Dr. Nobles is so gracious to call me seasoned. I was thinking, like, is she talking about me? So, yeah, the thing that I can say, thank you for that great explanation, because the way that I see it, perspectives are so important. Is I meet all of my neighbors. So the ones that I didn't know, obviously I know them and I know a lot of their concerns. And so when I first signed up and I started going door to door, I thought that it was going to be my responsibility to educate them, right? What ended up happening was when you knock on these doors, you begin to understand what these families' concerns are, and they talk to you about things that you can or cannot affect change on, but at least you understand what's going on in a community and where your things that you haven't even thought of. My mind has been opened to so many other issues because my perspective is so small. That of a mom in a small community who who'd like to have, I have my certain desires or wants, but hearing what other people care about was extremely important, enlightening. And I would say I've been impacted more by the community than probably the impact I've had as a precinct delegate. Now that I am rolling into what the second season, I guess, or the second term, I'll be able to be a little more educated. But the reason why I got involved, and one of the reasons why the folks on this call that are a part of Harper Woods should get involved, is because I felt disenfranchised and out of the process, and I wanted to know more about being educated. So I reached out to a friend of mine who's in politics and has been in politics for quite some time on the back end. And she told me that I should be a precinct delegate. And she kind of guided me through the process. And I haven't looked back from there. So to summarize, knock doors, get to know your neighbors, tell them how they can get registered. We were doing registrations right there on the phone as I was knocking on doors. You just have the link, you make sure they're registered to vote, and that you answer whatever questions it is that they have, and if you can't, you funnel them up. And we met a new gentleman who wasn't the person at the training the other day when we were all together. And I have to say something, and I'm going to shut up, but
No,
the
this is a
Harperwood
podcast. We all
community,
about talking. So
Nolana, she was like, I raised my hand, Ernestine raised her hand. She was like, you and you right here, let's get together. We need to make sure that we're doing blank, blank, blank. I was like, wow, this feels really good having a community, because I had reached out to at least one or two of the precinct delegates in other precincts when I was in the beginning, and I didn't have a lot of support. It feels great to have you ladies on the same team. We're working in the same, we're going in the same direction. So thank you, Nolana, for that.
Oh, thank you. I was so excited that I was not there myself. The first person I saw was Ernestine, and I've known her for quite some time, as you said. So I was like jumping, like, oh, let's see who else is in here in Harper Woods. But listen, Harper Woods, if you're listening, if Ernestine, if you don't mind me saying that, here's our education moment that we precinct delegates want you all to know. We have 24 opportunities. 24 precinct delegate slots. We only have 11 right now represented on the ballot. And we'll tell you later at some point how you truly can get involved. But if you're interested in the politics and how to impact, we need 13 more people. We need 13 more people. Historically, there were 6 votes in each of our precincts. Now there are 4. So if you're thinking about it, we definitely need you. I'm already recruiting, the people that I know, like Shalice just said, but I want to say that right now, even though we're a group of 3 and we're going to be powerful, right? The Trinity is always 3. We need you. So don't be surprised when we knock on the door and we say, hey, did you hear that podcast? Were you on it? What did you think? Just wanted to say that. So don't be surprised when we add that to our spiel.
well, thank you for saying that, because and I also wanted to say that there are also other areas that, I'm kind of holding up this map here, and that for those of our listeners, it's all over, the Wayne County, like Metro Detroit area. So you have places in Detroit that need precinct delegates. So those of you who are listening, in other areas, and then even outside of Michigan, outside of I have international friends, these are ways that you can do this. It doesn't just have to be Harper Woods. Find out what your precinct is, if you're in the Points, if you're in St. Clair Shores, and just go ahead and get involved. And so I really had a more specific question to ask Shalice. How long were you or what year did you decide to become a precinct delegate, and how long are the terms? And when did you decide to take this on?
Sure.
That
So
wasn't a scripted question.
couple things. Yes, that's okay, Ernestine. Couple things. I like it. One thing that I want to say to the folks that Nolana is trying to recruit, and right, that we're all trying to recruit is this. You don't have to know a lot to be involved. And what that means is I was very ignorant when it comes to the political process, but I know that I was fed up and I know that I wanted to affect change on a local level. In 2020, along with a lot of other people, some of the things that happened was we got fired up and we wanted to make change, but I didn't want to be in what's considered like politics because that's just not where I am. That's not where my heart is. That's fine. But if you want to get involved and you're someone like me who doesn't really have political aspirations, this is a way that you can do it because change happens on a local level. And if you want to be a part of that, this is what you need to do. I started in 2020. What happened? One of my girlfriends decided to run for judge. And I was saying, like, this is where it is. It's the school board, it's the judges, it is the local council, it's the mayors of our cities that really affect change when your children go to school every day. Laws, parking passes. I have my own, I have my own debacle of a story with that, but this is not the forum. But this is where local change is affected and the things that you feel when we go and we all want to get out and vote on every 4 years, right, for the general election. That ain't it, y'all. It happens right here on a local level. And that's what I'd like to see, where I'd like to see people get involved. I don't know if I answered all the facets of your question, but 2020, I decided because I wanted to understand the process, be involved locally, and I think you may have asked one other thing.
No, you answered all of the questions, and I just have to do the call and response. Ready to go? And y'all say, fired up. So ready to go, fired up. I love it. So no, thank you. I just kind of wanted to know, like, what, you became a precinct delegate in 2020. So, and then now running again. So that's about 2 years for a cycle. So, okay, that's awesome to know for, those who want to know more about this. So I kind of want to just kind of shift gears, and your question actually brought up a great segue into this, talking about politics and voter engagement. So what do you think is missing from our voter engagement, voter turnout? And, do you think that young people feel less or more engaged than, working class folks or people of color? And what are some of the ways in which maybe you feel that people disconnect, and, so we can talk about some of the solutions. So yeah, I'll have Shalise, if you could take that question away, and then
Okay.
Anna will hear your perspective on that.
When we were at the training, I was so proud to see the young lady step forward, the one who said, I'm a millennial and I want to be involved. I don't like what people are saying about us, but I'm here. And that's the first step, is that people need to see their friends. Now, I have a slightly different perspective on what she thinks and what I hear espoused by people all the time for the millennials and the younger folks. My kids and their friends are so passionate about what's going on in politics. Now, I can't see them necessarily getting into it in terms of being an elected official or in one of those roles, but they talk about and educate me on initiatives that are on the ballot and on different initiatives for people that we should vote for or look out for, or this person's voting record and what we may or may not have known about this or that person. So I love to hear their perspective.
I just have to say, like, I'm sorry to cut in, but I really do have to say I agree. And it's something about, like, it's a generational thing. So I think that, she may be right about millennials. I'm a millennial, but I noticed Gen Z, which is the generation born after 1996 or 97 is like when you cut off millennials. So, okay. I'm noticing Gen Z, they're getting out there protesting, they're getting out there and really being active, and they're talking about, mental health. They're talking about advocacy. They're talking about, they're very passionate about, women's rights to choose and voter rights and, agency around all of these things. So I really think that this generation, the ones who are in their 20s now, they're super engaged and they're super willing to kind of stand up for, rights of marginalized people. And, I have coworkers who are mostly in their 20s and they are super active and super, opinionated, and they have like so much information at their fingertips. And I know when I was teenage, I think the internet was this thing you got on dial up and you kind of, oh my gosh, and you got a couple of minutes on there and then somebody else needs to use the internet. So it's like, I think with this thing you can keep in your hand, Gen Zers are able to, access more, do more research, and to be more vocal about what they believe in. So I just needed to insert that in there.
Absolutely. And so you actually just corrected me on the whole millennial slash Gen Z. I cannot keep up with these generations, as my daughter was a millennial until a few years ago. Then they bumped her into like the Gen Z. So
Right. And I think they're getting shorter or something, because like technically it's like anybody born from 1982 to 1996 is a millennial. And then you got anybody born before that would be Gen X, Generation X. Remember those Pepsi commercials? And then you get, Gen Z, of course.
So to just jump in and say something about those folks who I believe, we just talked about the passion of the Gen Zers, but the folks that I believe who feel disenfranchised and possibly have a disdain for the political process. What I've noticed, because in my work, I work with a lot of folks um, who are quite frankly, who are disenfranchised. And what I've noticed is that they have a lot of other priority pressing issues, especially with the gas that's creeping up, or I don't know if it has creeped up, but it like soared up, feeding their families, et cetera, so on. And now I can't even imagine what they were going to say about the gas to get to the polls and the absentee. I point over because I have an absentee voter ballot application, but I thought I filled out a permanent one. Anyway, the point is being disenfranchised because you have food problems, your children, school, you have probably work. And it's a lot of other things that go in front of whether or not I'm going to get out and vote today, if that's on my agenda. But again, like Nolana said, like that's where we come in. That is where we come in when they can identify with the local face that they see, know, love, and like, right? They might get out and actually get into the process.
Yeah. And, if I just jump on in here, I concur. The generations are actively pursuing their right to have a quality of life through the political system. I also agree with you, Shalise, that it's not the generation thing that really seems to matter. It's the poverty line gaps that influence the voting. And to your point, the Promote the Vote 22 petition, where you trying to keep this as like a right, a federal law that you should be able to vote absentee. That is essential. Well, you'll be hear us talking about it, because that disenfranchisement is really just at the roots. Like you said, if you don't have gas in your car and getting to the polls, even knowing where your polls are, or you can't stand there for 15 hours in the cold because you need to pick your baby up from the daycare because daycare is going to charge you, you're not going to vote. So it's really it's the inequity that exists in our systems that I do feel that that's where we see this falling out of the political system. And the other part is just the I'm going to say the metamorphosis of the media. Like you talked about the dialogue. I'm going to talk about the flag coming on and you going to bed, and nobody watches TV after that. And then all of a sudden we had cable and we were watching MTV News, right? And now we have this plethora of targeted media, and people don't know what to believe, right? They don't know what to believe. Everything has a spin on it, and people just throw their hands up like, I don't trust any of these people. I'm just not going to vote, right? So that is where I'm seeing the fallout of those areas where poverty are a factor and disenfranchisement are a factor, and where people really just don't have a trust because of the mainstream media outlets taking over and doing whatever they're doing, and eroding our democratic process in that way. So yeah, that's where I see the differences. I guess that's why I want to say thank you right now. This is my opportunity, Ernestine, for this podcast, because that distrust has made people just tune out and look for ways to really find the real deal, the real information, learn. So I appreciate this podcast and you having us as guests today, because when will you ever see on the mainstream TV, let's talk about how you get involved in your local community and vote. You'll never hear that. You'll hear the
It's all
spin on the
driven
big
by
topic.
ratings. And, this is what I
Yes.
love about the way that we're able to communicate in these different mediums, in, the 21st century. It's, you give the power straight to the people. They can say whatever they want. And I mean, I feel like there's a good and bad thing, because then there's a lot of disinformation out there. But at the same time, you have a myriad of sources that you can actually glean your information from, and then go out and do that research on your own. Whereas that research is not kind of siloed, and the information isn't siloed, and you're not being force fed what, the ratings or what the, marketing folks or whoever are the powers that be, what they want you to know. So it's definitely, kind of more of a democracy when it comes to getting your information. So and that kind of brings up, like, to Shalisa's point too, about like people just really being able to have access to getting to the polls. I think voting should definitely, like, voting day, election day should be a, holiday. It should be a federal holiday where people are able to have that day off from work to go out and practice democracy, because, democracy dies in darkness. And, it's really, you're taking away people's, ability to actually participate, and therefore they don't even want to know, because, oh, I have to work, or I'm not going to be able to, or I don't even know my polling place, and so it comes down to folks who are getting on YouTube and TikTok and Instagram, Facebook, podcasting, to, really be able to help folks understand, what this process entails. And, you can cater it, because there's so much content out there. You can cater it to whatever your experience is. And we're talking about Harper Woods right now, but there's probably another podcast that exists, in just about every state, that kind of talks about, local issues, where, no matter where you are. So yeah, thank you guys so much for being a part of this. And I want to segue into our last question, which is, what are your personal hopes and dreams, for the community here, for Metro Detroit as a whole, whether it's, Harperwood specific, or, for this area. And then what are some of your political ambitions, ladies? Because we have very talented ladies here who have already been doing their thing. And I want to say I'm immensely proud of you. And I know somebody in the comments, Miss Fatima, said, that she was super excited to see everybody here, these strong Black women, kind of just so talented. And, we're having these conversations. So let's answer that question. What are your hopes and dreams for the community and political ambitions?
Well, I guess I'll start. For the Metro Detroit community, that's my ambition. I'd like to see a Metro Detroit community. Remember, I said that I'm originally from Texas. I've been here 20 plus years, but I remember dialogue when I first moved here about East Side being different from West Side. And I know it's fun banter from time to time, but it's not conducive to good politics. So I would love for people to unify around the things that matter, that protect the Metro Detroit community and the children and the school districts and the tax base and the property management. I'd love to see that as a vision where we all can just come together and say, this is where we draw the line. This is where our rights are, and we're not standing back. Or, let's make some innovative changes and let's do this and make this happen. We've already seen it happen in Detroit, right? We've seen it slowly happening with these powerful voices that have participated in the revival of our downtown area. And we see it kind of trickling through our communities. But in political scene, I want to see that energy in the political scene. And I think your second part was ambitions, personal ambitions. Well, I have to say, as a psychologist, I like to, my ambition simply is to motivate people to, like I said, make the changes and the actions that make them happy, that bring them joy and access in life. I have kind of always been on the back door of politics, though. As I said, I've done a lot of things in the political spectrum, just being that person who's skilled at system design and organizational design. I can't say I have any one seat I want to be in, but the one that allows me to help unify the community, that's the seat I'll take.
Hey man, I love the way that you put that. And yes, yes, I love it. And I'm here for it. So thank you so much for that. We actually did have a question online where we have Fatima who asked, what are some ways that you can get involved overall? And I do want to just kind of insert this and I'll kind of pivot it back to our questions and we'll take that one. But I do want to say that even if you think that being a precinct delegate is a little too ambitious for you because it is an elected position, there are appointed positions that you can seek in communities to get your start. I know one of my friends from high school, shout out to Steve Dombrowski, he started reaching out to me and asked, like, how do I get involved? And I was like, boards and commissions, join your local boards and commissions. Though I believe he's a guitarist. And so he ended up joining the Madison Heights like arts board. And they started putting together like concerts in the park during COVID and, all kinds of things like that. So it doesn't have to be something as official as being elected or being on the ballot. It can be as simple as joining volunteer groups like Nolana joining the NEDC, our Neighborhood Economic Development Coalition, or other community groups in Regent Park or wherever you live. Then there's also, so joining those boards and commissions, because that's a great way to start. Your planning commission, your zoning board of appeals, all of those, and library board, get involved. So yeah. Okay, I just had to say that and insert that caveat. But so Miss Wonderful Shalice Daniels.
Okay. So
What
the
are
question
your
was,
Mhm.
so I found something out new when we were at our training together. And it was that if you go to the Michigan Democratic page, and I'm sure it's the same for those who are Republican, they have those different, I forget what they're called, but maybe one of you two ladies know, they're like clubs and there is another piece that you could be involved in. They're clubs and they're not alliances, but can't think of the name.
Are you
Like a
referencing our Michigan our
like
Michigan Dems?
Yes.
Yeah,
So
the Michigan Democratic, yes. So like you can join your parties, clubs or like chapters, because I know that,
Yes.
in this area, Harper Woods doesn't have its own thing. It has the Grosse Pointes. And so we're a part of that. So if you live in St. Clair Shores, or if you live in Macomb County, Oakland County, Wayne County, anywhere, there are different chapters that you can join. But then there's the big Michigan Democratic Party or Republican Party, or whatever your affiliation. So yeah.
Okay. So that was it. Now I'll repeat the question, and
Okay.
I think it was, what do we want? What are our hopes and dreams for the community? And if we have any political ambitions.
Indeed, my lady.
All right. So I'll start from the bottom up. Political ambitions, none, but whatever Nolana runs for, I'm probably going to vote for her.
Yes.
So none for me, but I'm going to support this Black woman. The second part is, what are my dreams and hopes for the community? Well, I hope that the community can be informed. One, get informed on those issues, and I hope to be a part of that. I hope all three of us to be a part of that, even if we don't agree. And I'm sure that between the three of us, we have dynamic views on issues, because that's what we are. We're dynamic people, and I'm sure we feel differently. So we'll be able to educate our folks in all different angles, and that's okay. As we're individuals. The second part and most important piece is to hold our folks accountable. I hope that our community holds our people accountable for the things that they told us they're going to do when they get into office, the bills that they're going to pass, the legislation that they're going to enact, the bills they're going to bring to the House or bring to your community. Hold them accountable, because the people that I know that are elected locally, they actually want to hear from you. They want to
And they
hear
don't
from you.
end up
There's not
always
big
hearing
money.
from folks,
And there's not big money in their coffers. Like, they don't have big money that's running them or ruling them or telling them what to do. You are their constituents. So let's do that. Let's hold them accountable. And at least if they're not voting, with our interest or the interest that they ran on. Let's find out why.
Amen. Amen. And you know what? I have to say that, like,
I have to go. I'm sorry. I just had an emergency. I am so
okay,
sorry. My
I-
husband.
it's okay.
I'm so sorry.
No, I hope everything is okay.
I'm so sorry. I
Oh my goodness.
Okay. Well, let's
Prayers,
just take a
please.
moment to pray that everything is okay with Shalice and her husband, and we hope that things are doing all right. So, yeah, and with that, I think we're gonna cut things short here.
Come on,
Um,
come on. I understand this one more thing. You know, I'm an educator. I got to share resources. You gonna let me
mhm.
put some things in the chat before we go?
Absolutely, absolutely. I just a
All right.
little
I'm
worried
gonna. I
at
know
this
I
worried.
know we
Oh,
are, and I'm sure.
mhm.
But I want to. For you, for those of the people who want to know how to get involved, I put I'm going to put how to find your senator. If you want to write a letter or find out about what I'm going to put these things that I believe that the people we're trying to influence should know. I'm gonna do it real quick. So I know this is a podcast, but also that I want to share. I just feel like that's something that we should do before we end so that we keep focused. And if you want to know the district where you vote, I'm going to drop that in there too. Okay.
Okay.
And that way, to all of our lovely listeners, um, you can help, you
I
can kind of
can
get your base.
I can
There we
actually
go.
share these resources that she's putting things in our Zoom chat. I'm gonna put them in the Facebook link here. In addition, they will be available when you download the podcast audio to listen. They're gonna be there linked as well. And so I once again I really do hope everything is okay with Shalice and her husband, and let's keep her in our thoughts and our prayers. And without anything further ado, thank you all so much for joining. And this has been Quick to Politic, and we'll hope to see you getting involved. And we also hope to see you for the next episode with more political commentary, social commentary, and discussing the world here. So thank you so much for joining. I'm your host, Ernestine Lyons, and my guests have been Shalice Daniels and Dr. Nolana Nobles. Thank you.